Hey family, thank you for tuning into Our Roots podcast with Joseph Baba Ifa, where only the strongest roots see the light, brought to you by Botanica Candles and more. And if you haven't had the opportunity, please hit that subscribe button and share this video. Awesome episode today, Ifa and Chango. And our guest today is an initiate of this Orisha, a Babalawo as well, entrepreneur, friend, brother, gentleman. Please welcome me in introducing Mr. Luis Nieves, Awoni Orumela Ofungando.
Thank you. Very honored and humbled by those words. Very pleased to be here to be with you guys here at Botanica Candles and more.
Luis, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to have you here because we really wanted somebody that was going to be able to put Shango into words. And I really felt like it was important to have one of his sons here because I think no one understands Shango better than you guys. Not only as reincarnations of him, but as his children and as somebody that interacts with him on a daily basis. Because if I know one thing, the child of Shango talks to his guardian angel every day.
Oh yeah.
You know, being raised by two of them, you know, it's one thing I've noticed. So the first question I have for you is, apart from being Babalawo, which we know, how long ago were you initiated into Shango or Orisha?
Well, I was initiated into Chango priesthood 16 years ago by my godfather. That's Madrina no Yubona in Puerto Rico.
And her name is?
Lara Ruyang Omilade.
Beautiful. And your Yubona?
My Yubona is Ochalache Domingo Cora.
Very nice, very nice. You know, respect to those elders. How does it feel to be a son of Shango on a daily basis?
Oof. A lot of energy, a lot of channels you need to control at the same time. We're very thoughtful persons. We think of almost everything, and everything slows us down at a point at which we wish to go faster on a daily basis, but as soon as we got all our thoughts settled in, it's like a rage of fire. It's like straight up moving forward and doing everything with a lot of passion.
I have to agree with you because I remember my grandmother, she was a daughter of Shango, and she would move at a pace that we were just trying to keep up. You know, she was always, I'll never say she felt like she was on the run, but she always moved with a purpose, I think, because every moment mattered. And she really always had to be accomplishing something. So it really resonates because that is a common theme, whether it's my grandmother, my mom, you know, even my son, you know, very progressive people. They're all about the goal. And it's very important that they achieve it because I feel like the child of Shango and Shango had to feel like he was accomplishing something.
That's all.
You know. So before you were identified as a child of Shango, did you know?
I always felt like I was his child, his son. There's a different energy that surrounds you, okay? And usually children of Shango are very pampered by their parents in a way, and then in some other way they are rejected as well. Because children of Shango, here's the thing with children of Shango, we reunite the same amount of virtues and defects at the same time, in the same mind, in the same body. So it's kind of like complicated to interact with people on a daily basis and not being hated by many and being loved by many as well. So that starts, I think it all starts in the household. By you know, having different thoughts and ideas with your parents, not only being a teenager growing up, being a child of Shango, but also being as straightforward and being always trying to make our will. You know, that's one thing of children of Shango. We always want to move in and make our own path. We don't like to be guided in our path. We like to lead our path. So it's kind of difficult raising up a child of Shango. I can say that that my parents must have had a hard time doing so.
And it really goes back to that theme you were talking about, the goal, the accomplishment,
Yes.
that finding of oneself and that independence, because you guys have a very particular path. When you're a born king, when you're a reincarnate of somebody that basically was always able to do whatever they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it, and without anybody telling them, it's hard to recreate that in this lifetime. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, did you have any interactions with Shango before finding out you were his child? Like, did somebody take you in front of a Santa Barbara? Were you at a tambol one time, or were you anything like that?
Well, I did assist it at some tambores before knowing that I was a child of Shango. But here's the thing: it's an energy with which I felt identified ever since the beginning. I started my first steps in the religion. It was you couldn't notice it. I mean, it was like obvious, and it was this constant desire of wanting to be his son until I finally found out that I was, but the interaction of your daily basis with the virtues and defects and that energy surrounding you, most definitely you feel that that energy it's enlightening you in a way.
The reason I ask is because I've noticed with you guys usually know, or you feel it.
Yes.
I remember when my mother went to receive Mano de Orula, we would tell her, hey, because she was like, not only do I want to be the daughter of Shango, I know I am. I'll be like, Mom, you don't want to really overinvest in that because, if somebody else comes out, you don't want anybody to be insulted. She's like, no, son, you don't understand. That's my guardian Orisha. And I'll never forget when she pulled her Odu and they were like, who? Shango, and it came out on the first try. And I've noticed that because me and you have worked many Hand of Ifa ceremonies. Usually with them, it's first hit.
It's first
hit. They know it. It comes out. And that lets you know the energy that you're talking about is very real. Because when you can look at an archetype and identify so much with it to the point where you're like, there's no way I'm not that, that's really special. Because, you look at other guardian Orishas, sometimes it gets confusing. Sometimes they identify with multiple things. But with the son of Shango or child of Shango, it's very direct.
Yeah.
So based on what we just touched on, one thing I wanted to, talk about as far as a topic is the Odu Okanameji, right? And the Odu Okanameji, it's known as the Saraye of Shango, right? But most people, they hear about Shango being the third Alafin of Oyo, etc. And, it kind of gets convoluted who is who and what is what. So when we look at the story that's in the Odu Okanameji, there was the royal family in Oyo, and the king had a son. And the son was born on Ojo Jakuta, who is identified with Shango's ancestral energy, his Irumole, and Jakuta or Ajaka means he who throws stones, which makes reference to lightning, thunder, etc. Now, this young man, they gave him the name Abiafin, which means he who was born in the palace, right? And as this young man grew, he, without knowing, exemplified all of the virtues and defects of this energy of Shango, the Irumole. Because in reality, Shango's divine aspect isn't born in Okanameji. It's the earthly manifestation, the Orisha manifestation that was born. And the guy lived the Shango prototype perfectly. Not only that, he also had a lot to do with the development of the Egungun cult. And that's why Shango is viewed as the father of Egungun. But in reality, he's the adopted father, because Egungun is actually the child or the 9 sons of Oyan Orishaogo. So, one way of interpreting it. So he had a lot to do with that. That's why Egungun is dressed in red, you know what I'm saying? Because he gifted that to them to represent his own ancestors in the Egungun that had to do with that Shango energy. And basically, he lived his life in a way to the point where they stopped calling him Abiafing and he just became Shango. No one knew him by his earthly name no more. They said Shango has come again. And that's where that concept of Obako So, the king did not hang, he came back, he reincarnated, right? beautiful story, and even to the point where the kings of Oyo before were known as Oloyo, which means the owner of Oyo. But after Abiafing or Shango incarnate, they started being known as the Alafing.
Alafing Oyo.
Because you became the owner of the palace. That's how much respect they had for this guy, because he exemplified that so much, just like so many of you do. The reason I bring it up is, what went through your mind when it was revealed, like, oh my God, I'm at my, ceremony and I'm identified as a son of Shango now. Do you feel like first off, how did you feel? And then, do you feel like it would have resonated with what Abiafing felt like? Oh my God, I am this energy. How did you feel when Shango came out?
Well, basically it has no description. Like it was a very emotional moment.
Of course.
It explained a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Because basically Shango, when he came down, Meiji, he came down as a little scared child.
Ashe, afeke, yeah,
Afeke.
that great pataki, man.
Yeah, and he had to go for divination.
Ashe.
In order to be able to overcome all his fears and everything that surrounded him that he was scared of.
The pataki of the stones.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that pataki.
Yeah, and it was revealed to him Okanameji in the divination, and it was then that he understood what his real position was. Because when Kanameji came in the divination when he was revealed, he will defeat enemies with the stones. He will defeat enemies with 2001 stone, and that's when all the rage came in. As he grew up and he starts making friends, this and that, he bumps into Apple.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he becomes the ram, and he becomes Abbo's friend, and they become associates in the business. And Abbo had this business in which he used to sell fruits.
Yes.
But his business was not progressing at all, so he went for divination, and Okanameji was revealed as well. Said the person that it's stealing from you, it's someone that you know. So ironically, it was Jakuta, which was the name of Shango when he was growing up before coming into the palace. So, and I want to make a remark in what his trajectory was. He came as a scared child, then grew up to be Jakuta, the one that will defeat the enemies with the stones. And then after that, Abbo discovers the steel and everything that was going on, and he starts bad-mouthing Shango.
Mm-hmm.
So when he finally wants to follow the royalty path, he's like, okay, I'm here. Make me king. I'm not going to run from it anymore, because here's one thing. Children of Shango, sometimes the responsibility that comes with being a child of Shango and the greatness that awaits, sometimes we feel overwhelmed and scared of it.
Yeah.
And I think this is what resembles the story. He was scared of what was actually coming his way. And after that, he decided he wanted a change of life. So he changes his life as soon as he becomes king. Abbo, which was the ram, starts bad-mouthing him. Starts, making defamation of Chango's name. It was like, oh, he's a thief. He stole from me, this and that. So that's when his anger starts growing up. And his subjects, they didn't know. His people didn't know what to do to make him happy. So one day they asked, Father, King, Alafin, what will make you happy? And he said, Abbo is the only thing that will make me happy. So he ate the ram. That's when things started changing, and he was not bad-mouthed or defamated again. So all the defamation stopped. And it's very very funny because as you grow up being a child of Shango, you feel overwhelmed by a lot of things, and you feel scared of a lot of things in life. And once you start realizing the energy that surrounds you and the energy that you have, you start noticing it's nothing at all.
It's all right here.
It's all in the head. It's all in the head. Once you accept what's coming your way, that's when things starts getting hectic. That's when you start making enemies. That's when you start having problems. People making a bad name out of you. People saying things that are not real, because that's what Shango represents. You know, they had to badmouth him to be able to dirty his name, to not be able, because they didn't want him to be king.
They were jealous.
They were jealous of the king.
He had a lot of detractors. You know, when you come into the world with that much fame, with that much energy, not everybody's born like that. I say, you know, I was raised by two of them. The crown that the child of Shango comes in with is a hard one to carry. Because there's so much expectations, like you're saying, and that can give anybody some anxiety. It's like, this is what I have to live up to. And Shango went through that with his father. When Abdubifa was born, he's like, how do I separate myself from Oramiyang? How do I separate myself from all these guys that are gods on earth? And he went through it, you know? So he had to do it big, and there were moments when it had to be aggressive because he had to step out of a great man's shoes, you know? So it makes a lot of sense. It truly does. I notice here, one thing with the children of Shango, they're excellent entrepreneurs, and they cook very well. I have not met a son of Shango that doesn't get it in the kitchen, right? I'd like to mention someone right now, my godson Eric Abdubifa, right?
Oh yeah,
he has a
very good cook.
Amazing cook, and you know, he had a great episode with Ifa and diversity. But why do I bring him up? Because in his Odu of Otura Wani, right, or Otura Amala, was where Shango opened up a business in the land of Ketu. And it also speaks of Oyo as well, depending on the verse. And what did he start selling? He started selling amala. And it makes a lot of sense because that's what he loves to eat. But his business wasn't going the way he wanted it to go. He visited Oromila. Oromila revealed this Odu saying that it was the envy of the other people in the market. It was the envy of his detractors that was keeping him from being able to sell all the amala and Oyo. And he did the ebo because that's one thing about the child of Shango. They're fanatics of Ifa. They believe in Oromila. And things went wonderful to him. Where till this day, we're still talking about Otura Amala, right? The guy who sold Amala in Oyo. Why do I bring this up? Because I see this common theme with you guys. Do you feel like the son of Shango has a knack for business, naturally?
Well, natural entrepreneurs, but mostly it's because of the children of Shango idiosyncrasy. This takes them to different levels to interact with people. We're outspoken people,
very charismatic.
Even though some of us might have a little bad temper, but we always find a way, you know, to turn that around and you know, and to make people laugh and help people around. We like to serve these people, and I think that's one of the best ways of becoming a great entrepreneur. It's to like to serve people.
Oh yes,
that's basic with the entrepreneurship. If you want to solve a group of people's problem, then you're a good entrepreneur. You're solving something that it's not here existing. So you make it exist, and you solve people's problem. And that's one thing with children of Chango. We like to serve people. We like to help people. We like to see people succeed most of anything. And that makes a great entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship, people think it's only about making a business. but it's not only about making a business. Excuse me. It's also about helping people succeed. Okay, and that's one thing that children of Shango, they like to make people succeed, and they always like to have new horizons, new inventions, multiple things to put the mind into, because the mind never stops. And as far as the kitchen goes, well, not gonna brag or anything.
No, don't be humble. Coño. Oh man.
Well, I can make a good steak.
Yes, sir. I've had many. I've eaten at your house, Eric's house. It doesn't end. My grandmother too. She was an animal in the kitchen. Animal. But it's like you said. It's identifying a need, and that was Shango's thing, because when he became the king of Oyo, he wanted to see not only how to separate himself from his ancestors, but make Oyo better. That's why he invested so much in the Egungun cult. That's why he made all these innovations. That's why he tried to conquer so much, because he was trying to do everything he could for his people to help them grow. Right? As far as the food thing, I mean, if you look at the Odu of Edibere, Shango, they have this natural thing, and Shango loves to eat. So the amala, and when he was Obatalas cocinero, there's multiple Odus that we can get into of him just making food. So, if you're friends with a child of Shango, you're winning. You're never going hungry.
You're never going to be hungry.
Nah,
that's for sure.
Not at all. And it is incredible, because you guys are so talented. You have so many different things you can apply that talent to. And I think one of those is definitely the spirituality, right, of Ifa and Orisha. When you look at so many signs, such as whether it's mine of Ire de Suka, or Barameji, or Kanameji, where Shango not only initiated into Orisha, but Ifa, and he excelled at it. Do you feel like you guys have a natural call towards these things?
Towards the religion, yes, but here's the thing. There's a big, out of every big blessing or virtue, comes a lot of things behind it.
Yes, sir.
And it's like you always gonna be on the spotlight.
Oh yeah.
And there's no way around it, because mediocrity is not in our system.
It's not acceptable.
No, it has to be acceptable. It has to be excellent, and it has to work. It has to have that magic that people will say, that was a hell of a ceremony.
The glamour,
the oh my God, look at the ceremony. Everything's right on point. Everything is perfect, because we wouldn't take less from us. We're very, very demanding with ourselves, And here's the thing, that was a punishment that was given to Shango by Olodumare.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because he started complaining that the ceremonies were not well done.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sentenced by Olodumare, since you're complaining so much that the ceremonies are not well done, you will be responsible for being leader in all major ceremonies.
That really sounds like Obedwa.
Ashe.
And that's why Shango is everywhere. As you proceed into all these different processes, there's always one guy that's there.
Yeah.
It's Kabiesi.
It's Kabiesi.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it's tiring, it's exhausting, but there's nothing you can't do that you put your mind into it. There's nothing you can't do. You just have to be organized, because children of Shango in their religion, they have a very important role to play, because Shango wouldn't accept less from us, and with that coming, there comes a lot of responsibility. A lot of people looks up to you. I have people looking up to me even before I had Santo Don.
Yes, sir.
Like, hey, there's Luis. Hey,
they're very popular. You're gonna you're immediately notable.
Immediately, like,
pick them out of a crowd.
Hey, can you do this for me? And then when I had Orisha crown, everyone's like, oh, Yabo Luis. Yabo Luis, and I was like, whoa, where's
Los ojos.
all these people coming from? I felt like overwhelmed at the time, but you start getting used to it and using it in a good way, like using it to influence people to be better in their lives, and I think that's a very big blessing.
That's what a king is. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and I'd like to mention somebody because you said one thing there. It was like it has to be perfect, it has to be miraculous, it has to be entertaining, and the glamour. And where I got the word the glamour from is because one of the teachers of my godfather Pedro, his name is Katae Yobe, right? He was the gentleman that directed my Ifa, and Hijo Shango, mulatto, very very charismatic, very statuesque, a lot of presence. And, Kata, he lives in La Habana Vieja, and very well-known babalao. There's not a month that goes by that Kata doesn't direct an Ifa. So he had these clients that would come over from Spain. And there was 1 week where Kata was in another ceremony that he couldn't reorganize. So when the people from Spain got there, the Ifa was ready, everything was ready. And they were like, well, we want to see Padrino real quick so we can organize. And they said, no, he sent Fulano to direct it. And they said, oh, no. We can't move forward without Kata. And they were like, no, this is his head disciple. This is his guy. It's going to be the same. They said it won't be the same because Padrino puts the glamour on it. They stayed an extra week from Spain in Cuba just to have Kata direct the Ifa.
Just to have him. Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because it's irreplaceable. That energy cannot be imitated. It can't be. And that's what you were touching on, So just another example of that. Now, the same way we talk about Ifa, Orisha, etc., from what I've seen, the children of Shango are very spiritual people, especially the sons, I notice, because, and this isn't everybody, but I've noticed the daughters and like the misas and stuff like that, they're a little more metaphysical. They're more like meditative. You really don't, at least in my experience, I haven't seen them coming down a lot, but the sons is a completely different story.
It's totally different.
So I ask you, whether it's Mayombe, whether it's Espiritismo, whether it's a Gungun, do you feel like the child of Shango has a natural just calling to that as well?
Well, children of Shango are by nature fortune tellers. In a way. They I remember when I was a little child, I could have been 7, 8 years old. I remember I used to dream every single night.
Wow.
And I will tell my father what I dreamt of. Hey, Dad, I had this dream, this, like this, and that. And I remember he had this little lottery book. He would look up the dreams that I had. And he would play the numbers, and he will actually win. I mean, not big prizes, but he was always winning small lottery prizes.
Nice.
With the dreams that I had.
He paid you, of course, right? He broke you.
Yeah. He used to buy me. He will buy me a TV.
Oh, shout out to Dad.
Toy. Yeah, shout out to Dad. Ramon, I love you, papi. And it's very interesting that you bring that up, because usually children of Shango will have revelation in dreams. And that, I think, goes a long way with a gungun, with the spiritual world, okay? Because here's the thing, when you're sleeping, all your spiritual guides come beside your bed, and they are guarding your sleep, okay? Because many things happens while people are asleep. We just don't realize because we're not there.
Definitely.
We're in the different dimension. So with dreams, children of Shango are good with the dilagun as well.
Oh, wonderful Oriades. Wonderful.
Yes. My Obani Arate, Obani Kosolaye, Jose Alfredo Reyes Concepcion, Taito.
Oh, Ibaye, yeah, we've spoken about him. Definitely.
He was a beast, bro. He was something else.
And it's really interesting you mentioned that gentleman, because even on Facebook, before we had even touched that theme, I think I even brought it up to you. I was like, hey, Seroria, they unfortunately transitioned. And you were like, oh my God, that was my Oba. And,
That was my
you know, the people that have mentioned him, nothing but fabulous things to say. He was a young guy, from what I understand.
Yes. Very, very unfortunate that he had to go at an early age. A person with a lot of knowledge, very knowledgeable. He was master of ceremonies.
Sure.
And you know he was very good with the dilogun, and it's a curious thing, you know. When I remember when I had Santo Don, I was not a Babalawo yet, and I used to make divination with coconut,
Mm-hmm.
and I always hit right on the spot, and you know came to a point in which I was making divination for myself every 7 days. I used to stand in front of my Changor and I will make divination with coconut. And it's funny because, you know, everything that you give a child of Shango to divinate with, if it's a glass of water, if it's in their sleep, if it's with the dilogun, with the obbi, or with Ifa divination, you know, it's very interesting how that interacts with our brain in a very special way. Okay. I've had moments in which I get out of bed and I walk on the streets and I will randomly tell a person something about his or her life. Hey, like this is happening to you, this, and they'll be like, how do you know all that? You don't know me. And I'm like, I don't know. I just know. So be careful with this, and this.
I've been a victim of your muerto as well.
Oh, yeah. You know,
I'll get that text. Oh, yeah, and we run.
You know, and here's the thing. It's you know, it's in the beginning, it's kind of scary. Because you have to, you know, you have to flow with that energy. If you neglect it, it's, you know, it starts bumping heads with you.
Yeah, it frustrates you.
It frustrates you. And you know, but ever since an early age, and I can relate with this, and my kid, my son is a child of Shango as well. And he will wake up every other day, and he will say, Dad, I had this dream like this, and this. And, you know, so I can relate to that even with my child, you know, and him being, you know, being a fortune teller with his dreams, you know, or sometimes he will randomly say, hey, Dad, imagine this happened. And all of a sudden, an hour after he said it, it happens. And you're like, whoa, where's this guy?
It's in his DNA. It's lineage, you know. And that's the beautiful part about it. And I lean back on the Odu Obarameji, because you look at certain Odus and you're like, well, where is the Pataki where Shango divined? You have to kind of interpret there, because when you look at Obarameji, it says the king does not lie. From the lie, the truth is born.
The truth is born.
So here's the thing, right? Shango would walk outside and be like, oh, the sky is yellow. And one of his servants was like, no, your highness, the sky is blue. And Shango was like, he's dead. Kill him. And everybody was like, no, the sky is yellow. The sky is yellow. So not only was he divining, because whatever the king says is law. So when you take that more to a spiritual context of the, you know, the gift that you've inherited, you have that still. It's not only that you're divining, like, oh, this is going to happen. It's like, no, it's happening because you're saying it. Or it's been relayed to you. So it must manifest, because you guys have this natural manifestation, the secret thing where what you say happens. My grandmother, oh my God, una lengua salada, bro. I didn't even, like, I would try to creep out of the house and like crazy. Keep it moving with her, because I'd be like, but she'd be like, oye, no salga, don't go. Oh my God, you don't know what's waiting for me out there. Like, I gotta go.
I gotta go.
She's like, no, you need to stay home. Sometimes I was obedient, sometimes I wasn't. But I tell you, every time I wasn't, she would wait for me till like 2, 3 in the morning.
Wow.
She'd be like, ¿Qué te pasó? What happened? I'd be like, you were right. She's like, start listening. I know what I'm talking about. Yo no soy loca. I haven't lost it yet, you know? So with the spiritual thing, just to kind of delve into my ombe a little bit before we move on, is it easy to lose control? Because if you look at the prenda, right, and you look at the natural Shango Siete Rayo energy where you're king and you're dominating this icon, have you seen that? Is it a real test of self-control for the son of Shango to maintain, like, organization with that?
Most definitely, and to maintain some guidelines with what you have and what you can do with it, because here there's a perception of Shango with the Congolese people, and they believe that he was already born out of Orisha, that he didn't have a material life, and I think that's where the transfiguration of Siete Rayo comes in, because they were so devoted to Siete Rayo, and they were like, oh my God.
Well, there's lineages of Palo where it's just Siete Rayo, like Siete Rayo Cerrado, like everybody says,
and
Sasi Cerrado,
and Sasi all the way, and Sasi all the way, and because what this energy carries on within, and the it's like a very strong line of energy, and even if you move or jump to what the representation of Siete Rayo and Shango is in Haiti.
Oh wow!
It's the same line, bro. It's the same line. It's the same energy. It's so there's this was told to me by mi Obani Arate Taito. He used to go to Haiti.
No me diga.
Every once in a while, because his godfather was from Haiti. Oh. Not his Santo godfather, but his Haitian godfather. He had voodoo ceremonies with him, and this guy, his godfather, taught him a lot of things. So one day I remember I was doing a bometa, and I was sitting talking to him because he was a very interesting person. He had a lot of conversation. And I would sit down with him and say, hey, Padrino Taito, what's up with IT? What's up with Haiti? How do you like it? This and that. And he starts talking, oh, it's all right. I go there every once in a while, every now and then. I make ceremonies, this and that. And we start going a little deep, right? So he's like, I was at a tambor, I was at the drummings, and the loas, which are the eguns in the Haitian voodoo tradition, the loas didn't want to come down. I was like, really? And I was like, what do they do in the drummings when the energies don't come down? And he said to me, they will change the drumming touch.
Nice.
The rhythm, they will change it to Changor and Yemaya.
Wow.
And once Chango or Yemaya come down to earth, they will attend to them, then they will say goodbye to them, and then all the Loa's energy will start coming down to the drummings.
That's how much respect there is.
That's how much respect to that energy, and the line of ancestry in with Shango. This was taught to me by my Palo godfather. There's a strong line of Shango in Haiti that people don't know, that it's not known of, and they will dress with the leopard skin, and they will use the leopard's fangs and everything. It's very, very folkloric, but at the same time, you see how strong the roots of the cult of Shango. It's in different parts of the Caribbean. It's really, really strong, really, really strong line of folkloric and ancestry.
That makes a lot of sense, because if you look at voodoo and how it kind of derives from Benin and things like that, it makes sense because Shango is a descendant of Oramiyang, descendant of Odua, so it makes a lot of sense why that would make it over there. And then the leopard. Shango is the embodiment of the leopard. That's why he is seen as the king of the religion, because our whole religion is based on the leopard for things that we know.
We're the sons of the leopard.
We're sons of the leopard, whether it's the Awaguas, whether it's the Paleros, whether it's Orisha, whether it's Ifa. I remember my Yubona told me that. He said, there's no fear in the heart of the leopard. That's the whole basis of Ifa. If you have fear, you don't believe in Orumila.
You don't believe in Orumila.
There's no such thing. So that's really interesting stuff. I feel like Changor is misunderstood.
Oh.
I feel like there's been like a propaganda campaign, because every time you talk about Shangol or you hear about Shangol, you hear how he was a womanizer, alcoholic, partier. They really paint him in this light of everything you don't want to be. But what I wanted to do differently with this video about Shango was focus on all his positive aspects, because it's like when you're that great, you have a lot of detractors, you have a lot of naysayers, and you see it with what his children go through. So I wanted to go into a pataki from the Odu Okanasa. And in the Odu Okanasa, exactly, in the Odu Okanasa was where Obatala had 3 sons. Ogun, Oshosi, and Shango. Obatala was an old king, and his 3 sons were hunter, warrior, gatherers, right? And he said, children, I'll provide you with all the tools you need to hunt. Just whatever you get, let's split it even, So they went into the jungle. Ogun, caught a hog. Ochosi caught a deer. And Chango wasn't a very good hunter. He was a great warrior, but he wasn't a good hunter. He caught a rat. Ogun and Oshosi said, Shango, let's eat the deer and the pig and just leave the rat or let's eat the rat. We'll split it all and let the old man die so we can be king already. And Shango said, I can't do that. I gave my word to our father that I'm not doing that, And Ogun and Oshosi laughed at him, and they were like, well, don't snitch on us. He's like, you don't have to worry about that. I don't tell nobody. And they each ate their respective animals, and Shango was going back with his eku. When they were in front of Obatala asked them, oh, what were you able to get? And Ogun said, I couldn't get anything. Ochosi said, I didn't have any luck either. And Shango was like, Father, all I got was this rat. I'm ashamed, but this is what I have. So everybody gets a leg, and we'll make it work. And Obatala said, Doi bangechu. You were honest. That's why you don't have to go through shame. They didn't know that Obatala had put a curse on the tools so that anything that was eaten out of a lie would have to come back. So Ogun threw up the pig. Ochosi threw up the deer, and Shango threw up nothing. And he said, this is why Shango will be king. Because no matter what he is or what anybody wants to say about him, he's honest. A lightning bolt or a thunder strike are never lying. When I'm there, I'm there. And that's why Shango became king, and Ogun and Oshosi were banished to the woods. The reason I bring up this pataki, besides all of the beautiful thing it shows, because it shows that Shango is a man of his word. He might have been whatever else, but he never lied, and he always was loyal. And that's one thing I'll say is the children of Shango are loyal, beginning with you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And they're very much like, if this is what we have, we split it properly. So what I'm going to ask you is, do you feel like Shango is misunderstood or has a bad reputation for no reason, ultimately?
Well, first and foremost, people usually will take their Orisha's defects to justify a lot of things. And it is not false that Shango has a lot of defects and virtues, because it's such a wide energy, and people will say, oh, children of Shango are liars, they're not honest with nobody, they only think about themselves. Even Shango was people will say he was a tyrant when he was a king. But here's the thing, to be able to rule or to be able to lead something in life, you have to sacrifice certain things, You have to sacrifice certain situations in which people will put you in the spotlight, and will say, "Oh, you lied about this." Either Odun or Barashe, he had to lie because he had to save people.
Yeah.
And it's the saving lie, la mentira salvadora. That's how they call it. And it's really hard to be in a spot in which people's lives or people depend on you, and you have to be all in, and you have to make things right, and you have to be 100% honest. It's not possible sometimes. It's like, take for example a politician,
Or a king.
or a
president.
president,
A leader.
a leader. No matter how hard he or she tries to be honest 100% and to make things right. Because here's the thing: people will always have split opinions, split decisions, split thoughts. This part of the kingdom is gonna think like that, and this other part of the kingdom is gonna think the other way. And you can't. There's a big deal with children of Shango. We would like to please everybody, but then again, since nobody thinks the same, we keep up ending, making decisions that we have to in order to move forward. So that's what they say: liars, womanizers, this and that. But the actual behavior that Shango likes his children to have is not to lie, to be loyal to one woman, to be a good father, to be a good friend, and all of these virtues that he had, and the defects that they say he had, because in a way he had defects, and like you said before, heavy is the head that holds the crown. So children of Shango, they suffer a lot of depression. It's just they are too proud to show the world. You will never see a child of Shango depressed.
I think it comes from when you know that you have the talent and you have the capabilities, and when you can't accomplish what you want, that's difficult.
It's really difficult. Even if you're dying inside, you will show the world a different thing. Because we don't care. We're never gonna show the world. We're too proud to show the world that we're depressed, or that we're going through something, that's killing us inside. And I think that's one of the best parts of being a child of Chango, that we're able to overcome, because in the Otun or Dimeji, it was the fearless warrior, the invincible warrior, and he will challenge all different kind of monsters and deities to fight, and he will win every fight, until he was thrown down from heaven.
Because they had to all gang up on him. Because Odimei was born with the piedra de rayo in the hand.
Ashe.
And that's what he would use. But it was to the point where people they wanted to see him so defeated. All of heaven went against him. And he said, well, it's time for me to go then.
Exactly. When you put all these Oduns together, and the energy that surrounds children of Shango, it's really, really, really hard to keep up with everybody. Like, some friends will say, "Hey, no, you left us back because now you're a different guy. You're this and that." It will happen a lot. Because sometimes you have to make decisions.
But that's what the ram said to Shango.
Exactly.
He was like, "We were together.
We're together."
But the thing is when you're born to be a king you will be. And there has to be that growth. And that's why Shango, just like Orula, just like men, women, whoever going through that adolescence, you have to ultimately come back to your destiny.
Ache.
We run from it until we realize there is no running from it.
There's no running.
So it's interesting you bring up the themes of fatherhood, because I have found that the sons of Shango are fabulous fathers. I think sometimes misunderstood. But if there's one thing I'm certain of, these gentlemen, just like these mothers and these women as well, adore their children. Shango has this thing with his kids, whether it's spiritually or like you to your children, from what I've seen. And, you know, I'd like to lean back on an Odu, which is actually your Omoiya of Iwori Wofun.
Okay.
Right? And, you know, the Suyere says, Were nito were, Shango takpa nito were. So what happened there is Shango's children were in distress, right? And he heard them from afar, and he dropped everything and came running to help them destroy their enemies.
Okay.
When you look at somebody like that, or even in the Odu Ochetura, where he defended Ochetura, right, with the Piedra de Rayo, or in Obeka, where he defended his daughter from the bandoleros, or any of these various Odus where you see with his children, he blacked out. Do you feel like Shango is a good father? Even if he may be stern.
Shango, here's the thing with Shango. People will accuse Shango of being a bad father, and that's the guilty that he feels, that he was not a good father enough, you know, and because he had to different things, he had to go to war, he had to do different things, and he always had to leave his children.
Family got sacrificed for the kingdom.
For the kingdom. And this is very misunderstood. Even there's an Odun in which Shango had to grow breast to be able to feed his children.
Wow.
You know, so when you look at all the things that he had to do for his children, you know, and how people will always say he was not a good father, you know, something doesn't jive.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. You know, so children of Shango are extremely jealous parents. They will remove both eyes to see their children happy. You know, there's no limit. You know, there's no limit to how overprotective,
how territorial you could say.
How territorial we can get. It's sometimes it's scary.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I realize this. I have 3 children, and sometimes I get very territorial.
It's out of love.
Yeah, it's all out of love. But there's a proverb that says, the more the father loves his children, the more he's willing to remove or to pop out one eye.
Yeah.
Of them, you know, or to remove an eye for them. You know, and this is, you know, it comes to a point in which it's extreme, and it's not, sometimes it's not too healthy, you know, to be like this, because children they will always have their own path.
Correct.
You know, you have to let them grow, you have to let them make mistakes, and Shango is such a good father that he will not allow his children to make mistakes, you know, because he always wants his children to be better than what he is or than what he was.
Nice. No, definitely. And knowing you, the fabulous father that you are, knowing your family.
Thank you.
Ultimately selecting you to be the godfather to my daughter.
Ache.
You know, I can do nothing but agree with you, because you see it in the way these people move. My grandmother, she really occupied that role for me. And, you know, an amazing parent. And it's like you said, an amazing parent to the point where if it meant her or me, she was choosing me.
Ache.
So it speaks of that character of, I cannot allow my children to fail. I cannot allow them to go through what I went through, you know, so definitely resonating. What advice do you give to the children of Shangol that are watching this, especially the ones who just found out that they are, you know, on how to be able to avoid the defects, live the virtues, or find happiness?
Well, first and foremost, Chango is an Orisha. Don't like infidelity. Don't like lying. Don't like mediocrity. Okay, I will advise all children of Shango that are upcoming into this religion, um, it's a very strong energy to learn of. So in the beginning, it's going to be hard, but um, as long as you're organized, as long as you're um, willing to take things step by step, because this is one of the biggest defects of children of Chango. We're desperate about things.
Patience.
Patience. We don't have a lot of patience. Okay, learn to control your temper and meditate about things, because that's when we act. It's like the thunder. A thunderstruck. It's just boom, straight to earth. You know, it's very interesting, because if what a thunderbolt creates electricity. In order to be able to create electricity, you need negative energy and positive energy at the same time in the same place.
At a perfect moment.
At a perfect moment.
Wow.
And at a perfect balance. So out of this thunderstruck comes the stone and the fire, because Shango is the fire that comes through thunderstruck, you know. And so if you learn to be as fast as thunder, but as hard as a stone, and as creative as a fire, because the fire either creates or destroy. You regulate the fire, and this is where children of Shango are very passionate about everything. Everything, relationships, children, friendship, businesses, everything that's around them, they are passionate about. So I would recommend to all children of Shango coming up into this religion, learn how to regulate that passion, that energy, so it doesn't overwhelm you or overwhelms other people. Learn how to regulate the electricity that surrounds you. Learn how to be like the stone, and learn how to be like the fire. The fire creates or destroys. You're the one that has to regulate the flame of life that lives within you.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Would you come back as a child of Shango? If you had the choice, in that next reincarnation, would you do it knowing all that you know now?
Any given day.
Oh, wow.
Any given day. Any of the 8 days of the week, like I said.
Man. 25-8.
25-8.
And you know what that lets me know is that you've learned from the hardships.
Yes.
For someone to go through all that you've mentioned up until this point and without a second of indecision say yes, that lets you know the benefits that come from the sacrifice.
Yes.
And I think that is ultimately the theme with you guys is there is no obstacle. The ram. We keep pushing through. And it's a consistent theme. To bring it full circle, Luis, after a wonderful conversation, how has Chango positively affected your life, looking back now?
Man, before Chango came into my life, I was totally lost. I knew who I was, but I couldn't find my own identity. It's like being trapped and not being able to succeed in life and to move forward in life to the things that you desire. And it impacted my life so much. A lot of people that were no good were out of my life. When my guardian came into my life, a lot of negativity. He showed me how to be a better person, that's for sure. Okay, how to control my temper, how to be a better child, a better father, a better husband. So, because here's the thing, Shango is very severe with his children, especially with males.
Yes, sir.
He will be very, very, very hard on them, because he wouldn't accept that his children, he wouldn't take less than all the good things he has to offer. With his daughters, he's like, oh, you know.
It's like it's like a father with his daughter.
Yeah,
Mija, you'll do better next time.
You know, she's a queen. Leave her alone.
He's hard on the boys though,
but not on the boys. On the boys, he goes really hard.
And you notice that too, like the daughters of Oshun, in my opinion, they go through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we, the sons,
it's a different story.
It's a different story. I mean, we have issues, but it's not like to that extent. My godfather,
Nothing
when I came,
huge.
No. When I came out as son of Oshun, he was like, "You're blessed because you're the son of a feminine Orisha. She'll fall in love with you, just like Shango or the male Orishas fall in love with their female daughters.
With their female daughters.
You know, it's just it comes with the territory.
It is what it is, you know. But it impacted my life in a very positive way. 16 years back, 16 years ago, I had no clue in life, you know, and I had this huge, big guardian Orisha that was going to be crowning my head, and everything changed for the good. Everything changed, and when I didn't want it to go his way, he will show me it was his way, you know, by any means, you know, and you learned it the hard way, but it's all for good in the future. And if you learn to realize that, that's when you make the best out of it. But it impacted my life so in a big way, that everything that I aspired in life, I got it, and then some more.
I tell you, it's kind of like that maturation process. You know, you look at the young ram, he wants to bang his head against everything. You look at the mature ram, he doesn't pay attention to anything that he doesn't need to. You know, they say in Oyo, the young sons or priests of Shango, they wear their hair long. You know, the rebel. You know, but you see as they get older, they turn bald, right? Or they shave their head, because at that point, we don't have anything to prove. We're comfortable with who we are, and we have to make room for the crown. Luis, thank you for such an amazing conversation.
Thank you. Very humbled and very grateful to be here tonight with you guys.
You're a brother, you're a gentleman, and you're a fabulous Babalao.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words.
Yes, sir. So, guys, there you have it. Ifa and Chango. Couple things I want to get into, right? If you like these shirts or looking for any merchandise or any products to be able to practice Ifa and Orisha, botanicacandlesandmore.com is the place for you. Spiritual mentorship programs, Ifa classes for all levels of knowledge, whether you're starting out or trying to refresh some things as a veteran, or Ifa consultations with Joseph Baba Ifa or any of the spiritual services that we offer here. If you haven't had the opportunity, please subscribe, like this video, share it, comment on how you felt about it, you know, if we have any further questions. I want to thank you, family, so much for tuning into Our Roots podcast with me, Joseph Baba Ifa. We're only the strongest roots. See the light, brought to you by Botanica Candles and More. And until next time, guys, see the light.
Ache.